Okay, everyone, we are going to try this in a slightly different way in order to get it out to all of you. I'm hoping that everyone can see this. Let me just see if there is a way to, no, there's not. Okay, so we are live in the Norland Farmers Market Group to broadcast our annual general meeting. This was not our planned method of broadcasting, but we're going to do what we can. So the projection that's running right now is a quick retrospective of last year, just showing some of the highlights of our year, some pretty pictures we have, and you know, some other pictures too. Yay, we have people on. Okay, excellent. Okay, so we're just gonna let this run through and give everybody a chance to see all of the hard work that Liz put into creating this presentation of what we did last year, and then we will get started with this year's. And Darlene, I'm gonna put you on actually, because I'm gonna have to talk, so we want them to be able to hear. So I'll hand this. Okay.
After we're done this, do you want to do a little pan around the slide?
Yes, I will. After the presentation is done, we'll have a look at, we've got a display of some of our new signs out, so I'll show that so everybody gets a chance to see it. You can see the pictures of some of our special events this year, some of our vendors, lots of our visitors, both large and small. We're all quite happy with the successes of 2022, and we are very much looking forward to 2023. Very happy that the groundhogs were on our side in predicting an early spring.
Is Judy connected?
Judy is not yet. Barb is on. She is very happy, waving at herself. Dolores just got on. Okay, so we are giving people time to find us as we get this all set up. How is the sound, Barb?
Here's one of our favorite people, firefighter Steve, who brought his truck several times. And there's, that's Santa.
Okay, we're gonna take a pan around our signs so you can see some of the things that we have added. We'll talk a little bit more about signs a little later. We're a very small group here tonight. We're blaming the weather. It is pretty miserable out there, so I'm happy you guys are all safe at home. I'm going to turn over camera duties to Liz.
Hey,
So, welcome everyone. We're glad that you made the effort to come and join us. We're happy to kick off our second year. Where's your clicker, Liz?
yep. Oh, wait, I have to connect it. So much technical stuff.
Technical difficulties all over the place.
counterintuitively, that one advances it.
Okay, there we go. A look back at 2022, the things that we've learned, the things that worked for us, the things that didn't. Looking ahead to 2023, the basic changes we want to make to the market and what we're getting into with we'll talk about farmer producers, what they are and why they're so important to the market. We will wrap up our discussion on our preferred operating hours. We know that that has been ongoing since we wrapped up the market in the fall. We're going to talk about recruiting, both for our market committee and for the market and vendors that we're looking for. We're going to talk a bit about social media usage. It has been very, very good for the market. We're going to talk about what vendors can use it for and how to best use it to drive sales at your market table. And some of the special events that we have planned for 2023 already. And then we'll get into questions. So looking back at 2022, this is really hard to believe. When we had the meeting to put this plan together, we had our first meeting to say, hey, the farmers market would be really good in Norland, February 8th last year. And at that time, I gave our chances of having a market up and running by Victoria Day weekend somewhere around 30%. But I had no idea who I was going to be working with. And the group of volunteers have been amazing, and together we managed to pull things together. We had a spectacular opening day, and our last market last year was October 7th. We had a strong year all the way through. Our hours last year were 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. And despite some rather challenging windstorms, we only closed for weather once last year, and that was September 16th. So there's a lot of numbers here, but what we did was last year we tracked, we had the vendors self-report their sales, and we anonymized it. They were not attached to any particular name. We just wanted to track what the sales were each week so that we could track trends, so that we could figure out what we needed to do to make the market better. We did miss a couple of data points, and we'll get to that a little bit later, that there were things that we found that we probably should have been tracking that would have made it better. But this chart here is the total sales for a week against the number of visitors. We had Julie sitting there, or Darlene sitting there with their little clicker every week, counting every visitor that came into the market, and we matched it against the sales. We had a spectacular opening day. We had reasonably steady attendance, somewhere between 150 and 280 at our high point throughout the year, other than the opening day. There are a few, sorry Liz, you had some.
Anomalies?
Yes.
The next screen shows one anomaly in particular, which is the day that somebody showed up and bought about 4 cases of wine. So you can see that threw the data off a little bit of an outlier there. This chart is the number of visitors against sales per vendor. So the average sale, or the sales average per vendor on that day against the number of visitors. And the key piece to remember, you're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get to that.
And then we also, just visualized it again, the number of visitors versus the number of vendors. And what that tells us is a couple of things. First of all, obviously, the more people we have through the market, the more each vendor makes. The the other thing that it tells us is the more vendors that we have, the more people we bring in. Why that is, yeah, I lost it. Okay, so consistent attendance is a critical thing that we struggled with last year. Not only were we a first year market, we had a lot of first time vendors, and that caused some challenges for us. A few people overcommitted and were unable to realize what impact that was going to have on their actual life. We had some real life situations. All in all, we decided that there were things that we needed to do to motivate our vendors to the behavior that would benefit all of our vendors in the market as a whole. So, there are a number of reasons why more vendors equals more vendors. The first one is our drive-by traffic. We're right on the highway, we've got a lot of cottage traffic, it's really good for us. And the more vendors we have, the more it seems like something is going on in the park that people should be stopping. If we just have a couple, you know, it's smaller and it doesn't look as attractive. Signage is another part of that. We'll talk about that a little later. Yeah, so the busier we look, the more people we get in. A variable that had an impact on us that we did not track was weather, and we have come up with a solution for that. Della. Della solved our problem.
Yeah. As the market is part of the Norland Recreation Center Management Committee, the solution to it is that if we have bad weather, that the market is going to come indoors. So they don't have to stay out the weather and the bad weather, and we won't miss our day. So I know we had a couple bad windstorms last year. It was just crazy that the tents were flying away on them and stuff. So hopefully that'll solve our problem this year.
Another impact that we had that we didn't have tracking on was our angry repeats. And that was, there were several people, multiple people throughout the year who were looking for a particular vendor. They would show up, they would ask where that vendor was. When they were told the vendor wasn't there, they would turn it around and immediately leave. So instead of coming in, seeing the vendor they wanted, being happy and shopping at other vendors, they were angry, they weren't in the mood to shop, and they left, and we all lost it.
And they got counted.
And
got clicked.
they did get counted. We clicked them as a visitor because to us that was important to track. So we've done a couple of things. Our first solution is we've put in an attendance rebate. If your booth is open for every market that you have committed to, at the end of the season, we're going to refund 50% of your rent. Solution number two, because people aren't going to be in every market, not everybody is signed up for all 21 markets. So we are going to put together a form that is going to hang on every booth that is going to quite clearly state which markets they will be in. We'll have that information available online as well in our various groups. And the same as we did last year, every week, either Thursday or Friday morning, we will put a post up on social media that says, hey, here's the list of vendors that's going to be there this week. Come on out and see them. So we're hoping to mitigate that with these steps. Another variable that had an impact on us was signage. When we started the market, we only had 2 or 3 signs, and I'm going to turn this over to Liz.
Hi, my name's Liz. Hi. And here we say, mitigate this situation. We've invested in some new signs, and I just want to point out there's two different kinds of signs. I might even have a laser pointer there somewhere. Yeah. So there's the big A-frame signs that hold, I think there's still 6 of those. But we got 24 of these little signs, and these get positioned out on the highway in sequence. About this far apart. And we used these recently at the Christmas market, and they seem to be quite successful. I think in total now we've got something like 39 signs ready to go. And I've done a little map here to show where those signs will go. That's not going to work. So we've got 4 of those series of small signs outside the school library coming into Norland. 4 of them will go just as you're rounding that corner up to the lights coming up north. There's a sign that says Farmers Market 2 kilometers pointing up. There's 4 more of those signs coming in from this way. So we're covering traffic from 3 directions at the lights. Another series of the small signs, another A-frame, another series of small signs, another A-frame, and then the sign directing people into the market, and then a series of small signs and an A-frame catching traffic from the north. To an extent, I felt that last year some of our vendors were not aware we had signs at all, because they would come and set up just as I and my assistant were heading out to put the signs up. So I want to reassure everybody there's a lot of signs that we're going to have out to get people in. The Christmas market sign and all of this other signage, again, the 39 signs were used for the Christmas market. There were other reasons why we were so successful, but one of the reasons is there's a lot of signage. We all got a lot of feedback on that day that the signs worked. You're nodding like, yeah. Signs worked really well. We had over 640 visitors, 40 vendors, very successful day. And back over to Monica.
Okay. So when we were putting together the rates this year, we are still quite clear on the fact that we are a young market, and as a result, our rates are low compared to other markets in the area. Because we're now after November 30th, this is very simple. For farmer producers, it is $15 a market if you're here for the full season. If you're here for 10 or more market dates, it is $20 a market, and if you are here for less than 10 markets, it is $25 a market. Non-farmer producers, so our artisans or our food vendors, they are 20, 25, and 30, so just $5 more. Add to that, if you need hydro, it's an additional $5 a market. We have the attendance rebate that we've already talked about, where if you show up for every market you commit to, you will receive 50% of your fees back. Now, I want to touch on that for a second. If your booth is open for every market that you've committed to, it doesn't have to be you. You can have backup. It's okay. And then we have our Find a Farmer rebate. Farmers are really important to the market in maintaining our status, and Liz is going to get into that a bit later. But because they're so important to us, we are looking for all the referrals we can get. If you refer somebody to the market and they are a farmer producer and they sign up for at least 10 markets and show up for all the markets that they say they're going to, we'll give you an additional rebate of the cost of 4 of your markets. So if you know a lot of farmers, you can be here for free. Table sharing was something that came up last year. It kind of started by necessity, and people have been asking about it, so we wanted to put some rules around it. I was the biggest table sharer, so I'm going to talk about my experience with it and why we've set up the rules that we have. Very simply, every vendor needs to be registered, and that is for the official forms that we need to fill out, and every vendor needs to make their payment for their table. Now, there are two kinds of table sharing. There is, and I did both. So I had holiday farms at my table as well as my farm, and that was because we needed a corn vendor. So I contacted Holiday. They didn't have the staff. They weren't interested in coming to the market. So I just went and picked up their product and sold it at my table for them. There are some advantages to that. I mean, I made some money off of it. It was good for the market. We had corn here, which was really important to our customers. But it's hard. It's a lot of extra planning. You need to coordinate with that person. You need to know what they're going to have for you. You need to have it prepped and on the table. It's a lot of work, and quite honestly, the extra money is probably not worth that extra effort, but I'm going to be doing it with Holiday again this year. So, pros and cons. The other kind of table sharing is supporting your other vendors. Dijou Farms is our honey vendor, and
She's on them.
is she? Hi, Judy. Judy can't be at every market because of her schedule. So I set up her table and I man both tables on the weeks that she can't be there. Again, there are pros and cons. It's really good for our customers to have consistent representation of our vendors. The downside is, and Judy will attest to that, her sales are lower when it's me manning her table, because customers don't just come for your products, they come for your story, they come for your personality. It's really important to make a connection with them, and that's not the same when it's somebody else manning the table. So there are pros and cons. We're supportive. If you want to do it, we'll be here. We'll do everything we can to make it work for you. We just want to make sure that everybody understands that it's not all sunshine and roses. So the whole point to this meeting, we really want you to be a part of the Norland Farmers Market. This year, insurance is included in the fees. We have purchased insurance from Farmers Market of Ontario, and that will cover all of our vendors, with the exception of Pilitary, just in case Courtney's online, but she knows that. There's a special exception for alcohol vendors. We are now over 900 people in our Facebook group. We have a very supportive community that is behind the market and regularly comes to visit us. We encourage our vendors to promote their products on Facebook. Use the group. What we discovered last year was that every time a vendor posted about a specific product, their sales on that product went up. People are reading, people are listening, and they really want to be involved. Friday Cottage Traffic, we talked about that. We do a ton of community events. We have our community table every week with different volunteer organizations and charities. And in addition to that, we have some special events planned for 2023. Where did I go?
The next was how to sign up. So just directing people to
the next was, sorry, there was no title on it. I lost myself. So, sign up. Our application is on the website. www.norlandfarmersmarket.ca. If you have any questions, if you need any assistance, any of our committee will be able to help you out. And I'm going to turn it back over to Liz to talk about farmers.
Thank you, Monica. So we want to do a little section on what is a farmer producer and why are they so important to any farmer's market, certainly ours, for sure. A farmer, with a few caveats, is anybody who produces something on their land that they can sell. And there's a few asterisks after that because there's a few weird rules about that. Apparently, for example, a winery in Ontario that makes wine out of its own grapes that it grows in Ontario can be counted as a farmer producer. A brewery cannot. Supposedly, I don't know why, I'm guessing because there's so many other things that have to go in the beer other than what is produced in Ontario. So we have a specialist named Monica who is going to check. And just to let you know how good she is at this, we threw Darlene threw a curveball at Monica this week in our meeting to say, can someone selling bagged composted manure be counted as a farmer? And we said, we don't know. Leave that to Monica. And she just informed us today that that is a farming product. We could have that person and they would count as a farmer. So if in doubt, ask us and we'll all ask Monica and she will find the answer. So why do we care about farmer producers? Two real reasons. First of all, obviously, it's a farmer's market. People come to the market expecting to buy fresh, locally grown produce of some kind. And when they show up and there's not very much of that, that's not great promotion for our market and it doesn't look good, and it would be great to have more farmer producers available and selling their produce. We have a particular challenge in that we're a little bit further north than, say, the Niagara region or other regions in Ontario, and our growing season is a bit later. So in those early markets in May, the opening market and so on, it's a real challenge to get locally produced produce available for people. So that's the first most obvious reason is it's a farmer's market. We should have farmers there selling produce. The reason that we're most concerned about is that to be called a farmer's market, we have to have a 51% ratio of farmer producers to everybody else. So in other words, for every farmer producer we get, we can pull somebody off our waiting list who's not a farmer producer, and we actually get 2 new vendors every time we get 1 farmer producer. We have literally a waiting list of inquiries of people who'd like to be part of the market, and we cannot add them until we can balance them out with more farmer producers. Just want to make sure that I've covered all of that. So clearly the way to grow our market is to have more farmer producers to allow us to sell a wider variety of both produce and other products. So the challenge is, when we say find us a farmer, what's a farmer? A farmer is somebody who can grow enough of something that they can sell it consistently at the market. That's the key point. We will get inspected. We have been inspected, and the inspections usually happen in what we might call the high season, July and August.
Yep.
When the health department will come, and I assume it's the health department.
It is.
Comes and makes sure that we've got more farmer producers than we have other things. And if that happens to be the day that you did not bring your bin of turnips, or whatever it is that you're bringing to qualify yourself as a farmer, we could be in trouble. What does trouble look like? We would get downgraded to something called an artisan market, which doesn't really sound as good as farmer's market for a number of reasons. But when you're an artisan market, the health department inspects you a lot more. They have higher standards. It's just a whole different ballgame when you are an artisan market as opposed to a farmer's market that's designed to sell produce and locally grown food to the local community. So the challenge to all of you who are watching and who are present, who are selling products that are not edible and not locally grown, do you have a garden by any chance? Could you start some seedlings? So what worked really well early in the season last year was seedlings, and people were selling starter tomato plants, starter herbs. That all counts. You know, if you can kind of start on that route and keep that going, you could sell the things you are really interested in selling and other things that you've grown, and you could be counted as a farmer. And that would help us out. It would help us grow the market really quickly. Now, let's talk about those early season markets for a minute. In Ontario, the things that people are looking for early in the season: asparagus, strawberries, and really berries of any kind. Not a lot of berries up here necessarily, but I do know there are a couple of strawberry producers, and I do know there are some people who do produce their own asparagus. We'd love to be able to sell those things on opening day in May. If we could find anyone who could supply those for us, that would be amazing. Monica's already talked about the farmer rebate. So if you find a farmer, they sign up for 10 or more markets, they actually attend. At the end of the year, we're going to rebate the equivalent cost of 4 markets for you. So that's a little bit of incentive to help us grow this market. I think I covered most of those items. I'm gonna hand this back to Monica. We're gonna trade off. And I've been seeing questions coming up about hours.
Operating hours.
Operating hours.
We've been talking about this for a long time. We've had a lot of feedback. It seems to be fairly divergent. So what we have done is we've taken all the feedback, we've come up with 3 options, and we're going to give you guys a chance to vote. We want you to pick whichever option makes the most sense for you, put it in an email, send it to norlandfm.wordpark@gmail.com, and let us know what you want. Now, there are a number of things that we had to consider when coming up with these options.
Charlene's got a question.
Okay.
Is the farmer percentage an FMO rule? Is the market registered with them?
We are registered with FMO. The farmer percentage is actually a health department rule that FMO supports the market in meeting.
Okay.
Okay, operating hours. So we had a number of considerations. We've talked a bit about trying to expand the number of farmers that we have. Finland has a long-standing farmers market that goes on Fridays from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. So one of the things that we were exploring was a chance to get those Finland vendors, when they leave that market, to come and join us. So what we've decided is, if we keep the same hours that we had last year, we're going to set up a separate section to make it easy for people to come in, and we'll allow a 3 p.m. start for that group of vendors. We have been exploring ways to do that safely. We were very concerned last year. I know we emphasized it to all of our vendors that everybody had to be set up on time. And the reason for that is we don't want vehicles and loading and all that to be happening when there are customers around. But by setting up a separate section, we'll be able to do that and maintain the safety. We have had some people requesting an earlier market, so we put a 10 a.m. option in there. The concern with that is we'll miss a lot of the cottage country traffic. We've had requests for both a longer and a shorter market. So I think we're gonna stick with about a 5-hour. That's kind of where we're aiming for. But 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. If we shorten it, then we don't have to have that separate section. Everybody starts at 3 and we're good to go.
We've already had 1 vote for that.
Okay, the emails have started coming in already. So, community use of our social media. As I mentioned, we have over 900 people in the Facebook Facebook group right now. We encourage our vendors to post. One of the ways that we ensure that it's only our vendors posting is that all posts must be approved by our social media team. So if you put a post up in our group, it will not go live until one of us has had a chance to review it and approve it. That was particularly important during the election season. We spent a lot of our time clicking deny, but other than that, we haven't really had much of an issue with it. What we have decided, and we announced in the fall, is that the annual general meeting every year will be the cutoff for previous year's vendors who are not yet signed up for the current market. So to keep posting, sign up for this year. Because it's the first year, we can allow a little leeway. If you need a few days to get signed up, but there's something you need to post, just let us know. We're pretty easy to get along with.
Can you back up one? Yeah.
Oh, I did skip a slide. Yeah. Oh, this is an important slide.
This is an important slide.
We started off last year with a volunteer committee of 6 people. We are now 4. This is not good.
Yes, we are now down to 4, I wonder if you have an opportunity to take a closer look at this screen with your camera there. So we've got Monica, who's our chair, and her, I want to say there's overlap on all of this. So everybody covers for everybody where they need to. But generally speaking, Monica's been our liaison with the City of Port Lakes, with the Farmers Market Ontario, and with a lot of our vendors, who's been coordinating that. Della is in charge of a lot of things to do with banking, our main connection to what we call the big committee that runs this park and this facility we're in right now. And has been extremely helpful for market day setup and site setup on that day, and has helped staff the community table as well. Darlene has done, it feels like, a million things for us. This year, since we've had to consolidate some of the duties, Darlene's taken over the community table and the trade show. And maybe I could just take a minute and explain what we mean by a trade show. We are going to offer 3 dates to local businesses for literally separate, we might even have to rope it off and say, here's a trade show area where businesses can promote to the farmers market customers. And we're trying, because we get so many inquiries from local businesses that want to be part of it, that we don't want to say no, there's no opportunity. But we can't allow, the plumber or whatever business that wants to be part of it.
Cottage cleaning is a big one.
Cottage cleaning, because it throws the ratio off of the farmer producers to the other vendors. But if we create a completely separate space and say it's a trade show sponsored by the Norland Farmers Market, and they're over there and we're over here, but really over there is really just here. We think we can probably do okay. We can probably get away with that and not have to turn people down. The idea with this is to support local business and support local community efforts any way we can. So that's got a big red circle on it because we would like to have a volunteer to come and help run that for us. Darlene's also been the treasurer and looking after the ins and outs of our bank account and keeping an eye on all of that, and does a very special task around vendor relations in producing the leases for the space. Then there's me. We've kind of lumped some of that under what I do under marketing and advertising. I did design the signs. We need someone to do social media. Monica's mentioned the social media team, which is in fact all 4 of us at the moment. We would like to offload that to a person. We did some flyers and some mailings last year, and I found it's really cost effective to produce a 1-page flyer, really simple design, just with the information on it, and to let Canada Post deliver that for not very much money. And it was very effective for us. So someone to look after that. We need someone to help with the website. We have kind of thrown up a website with a bunch of stuff up there, and it's not really what we want. We want something a little more dynamic and interactive. So we're looking for someone to help with that. The other thing I do, which makes me very happy to do, is I send out the vendor emails, which got a lovely response last year, which pleased me. So there's some of this I'd like to offload, partially because I'm looking forward to actually being a vendor, a farmer producer myself, at the market. So I'm trying to not have too much going on related to the market. So we really have 2 spots to fill out our committee, which used to be 6, is now 4. We'd like it to be 6 again. These red circles show kind of the specific duties we might put under each person. We might move that trade show over here. We're looking for someone to run an open mic event monthly, probably the first of every month. This is really important. I did a lot of this last year, putting up signs, figuring out where vendors were going to go, helping with setting up, helping with taking down, and that sort of thing. I mean, a lot of people were involved with that. The sign business fell to me, and I really don't want to be doing that job and being a vendor at the same time at the market. So we need someone who's willing to commit to being on site on Fridays to do some of that crucial stuff. As far as being on this larger committee with the 6, what do? We have weekly meetings starting in February, so that's a commitment. There's decisions to get made, there's problems to get solved, things come up that you wouldn't even imagine would come up related to a farmer's market, and we have to put our heads together and come up with a unified response. I'm sorry?
Zoom. We Zoom most of our meetings.
We Zoom most, but not all of our meetings. And I've been going around for the last year saying this is the best committee I've ever worked on. And I actually believe that. I'm not lying. And I have been on a ton of committees in my life. There's great teamwork, there's great mutual support with this group. So I encourage you, if you are interested in a volunteer opportunity anywhere in the community, this is a good one. But there is a commitment. Like, it's not like, woo, I'm on the committee. And then you put that on a CV somewhere and go away. That's not going to work for us. But we would love to have at least two more people on the committee to spread out some of these duties a little bit. Are there any questions coming up? Is anybody volunteering and leaping out at my sales job?
I have no leaping.
No
I-
leaping. No leaping.
I do have a question, but I'll present it.
Okay.
What was that?
There is a question, but I'll present it when we get to
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I just couldn't hear you. So we're looking for farmers, we're looking for members of the larger committee. We would also like, if you think you could take on one of these things, that would be great. You don't need to make this kind of commitment. If you can do one of these things for us, fantastic. That would be great. No leaping, no questions?
No leaping, no questions.
Okay.
Okay. And now we will turn it over to Darby to talk about special events that we have planned.
Well, our opening day this year is May 19th. We are trying, as Liz just discussed, to have a trade show. May 19th, June 30th, and September 15th. And an open mic once a month. We need somebody to jump up and volunteer to do that. The Norland Festival, which is not actually part of the farmers market, but our vendors do have a number of opportunities throughout the year to take part in other events that are at the Ward Park. Christmas in July was a big success last year. It brought out a lot of extra people. Brought out Santa Claus and a lot of children. We will be doing that again this year. It's July 21st. And again, we'll do the Christmas market, which was our biggest success of the year, on November 26th this year. The hours will be the same as last year, 12 to 5. And the application for the Christmas market is up on the website. You want to get in early because last year we were full. We were only handling about 40 tables. So you really want to come and get your application in early.
I will say, I know that Darlene has been approached about us doing other events like the Christmas market, and to flash back to Liz's slide, we would love to do that. We just don't have the bandwidth to do it correctly right now. So we're putting that on our wish list for 2024. We would love to do extra events like that. We think they're a great idea. They're a lot of fun for us, but they take a ton of time. So we don't want to do it and not do it right. So we're putting that on our pegboard for 2024. Okay, and that brings us to our questions section of the event. So is there anything that we talked about that wasn't clear, or any questions that we didn't cover? You can post them in chat if you're online. I know somebody sent one to Darlene already, so we'll kick it off with that.
If somebody is a producer and an artisan, can they have it at their same booth? And do they have to pay twice?
No, not every product that I have in my booth would count me as a farmer producer. So as long as it's all you, it's one.
So they're their own farmer and they're their own artisan.
Mm-hmm.
So one fee, one booth, and I assume they get charged farmer producer rates?
They would get charged farmer producer rates, yeah. As long as you're a farmer producer, any ancillary products of your own that you put at your booth, it's up to you.
Okay, the next question is, how many days do they have to be a farmer?
Oh, I see. I see. Wow, that's gonna get complicated. I don't have an answer right now.
So if they're a farmer for 10 days of the harvest season,
Could they then
And
have
they're
an
the
artisan
vendor all year.
booth for the rest? I think that we as a committee need to talk about that. I'm hesitant to make a ruling on my own, but we will definitely get an answer and post that online for you.
A couple of questions. Barb asks, will there be more special guests like Taekwondo, Pride, etc.? That was awesome last year.
Yes, we are going to continue to have the community table. There will be someone there every week,
So maybe even two someones.
maybe even two someones. Yeah, we
Maybe.
really enjoyed that.
many weeks we have two someone. And to her specific question, we have Indian Pride, who will be here twice throughout the year.
Excellent.
Plus, the table will be filled every week,
Yep.
once or two people. Taekwondo or it was jujitsu, yoga, and the fitness guru. They will be at the trade show this year, if they choose to come.
Yeah, so as these are businesses, we want to support the business participation, but they're not for profit, so it doesn't really count as community table. So it's a fine distinction.
And Globus Theater will be here, but they'll be at the trade show.
Globus Theater is a trade show.
So we've had to tighten up the regulations around that, and that was partially our naivete last year. We were very excited and we maybe open it up a little too far. So, you know, the city inflicts certain rules and regulations on us, and we bring it back in to try and bring ourselves back into line. So it is strictly nonprofit and community organizations, any businesses. That's why we've added more trade shows. We only tried to have one last year, and we're going to expand that to 3 this year so that those organizations still have a chance to participate.
And one more answer to the question. Why was the Lions Club allowed to sell even though they're at the community table and they're allowed to sell? Because all the money goes to non-profit activities.
So they are themselves a not-profit.
Yeah, they are a registered charity.
But every month, the money they raised does not go to anything else but service work. So that's the distinction. We had some complaints last year that they were allowed to sell, but that's why they're allowed to sell.
Yeah, so the distinction between trade show versus community table is, are you a not-for-profit operating in the community? Then you're on the community table. If you're a business, supporting yourself or running a business, we will direct you to the trade show. There's more questions. There's Judy's got a question, Brian's got a question, and then Barb says, all bring bubbles. Question from Judy. If I have someone else's product at my booth, where do we stand? Not a producer. That's a table sharing, I would say.
That is the table sharing, yeah. So we would have to register them as a separate vendor.
Yeah. But, yeah, so a non-producer vendor.
Yes.
Your husband asks, is there a percentage of what is at your table that is needed to be a farmer producer? If I have only carrots but sell woodworking crafts for 95% of what is on the table, is that still a producer?
That still counts as a producer. Are you planning to sell woodworking crafts at my table? I'm suddenly seeing this table sharing thing getting a little out of control.
Your husband has a secret.
Okay, question. Hello, I have alpacas on my farm. I harvest their fleece and knit crochet product from my harvest. Would I be considered a farmer?
I believe the answer is yes, but I am not 100% sure. I am 100% sure that if you have at least some raw wool, that the answer is yes. I will check if it has all been crocheted, if the answer is still yes. But if not, you can absolutely have a small basket of wool there, as well as the products that you have completely made.
And it sounds to me like Monica's going to check that.
I absolutely will, and I'll give you an
I'm
answer.
hearing the subtext of, and I'm going to check that. Judy says, I think to be a producer, you cannot do so many days as a producer and then as an artisan. Yeah, it's got to be consistent. So if you're going to sign up as a farmer producer, it's got to be consistent throughout the year, which is a bit of a challenge for some. Yes, I'll have wool there too.
Oh, well then yes, 100%.
Products are still made from their own wool. Okay. Good questions. Any more questions? Those of you joining us remotely, can you give me a little thumbs up if this worked out okay for you? Could you hear everything? Maybe there isn't a thumbs up option. I'm not sure. There should be a thumbs up option.
There's a minor delay to
Minor
this.
delay, okay.
The other thing for those of you online, we will be saving this. It will be available in the Facebook group, so anyone who wasn't able to see it live tonight will be able to watch the replay.
A question also from your husband. Will there be food this year?
We will have
Close up
dressed up
on
dogs
Thursday.
every week, which was absolutely fabulous. And then, of course, we will have a multitude of food vendors. I believe we have a couple signed up already. We're looking forward to having Brenda's butter tarts back. I believe Grandma's Baking, who we met at the Christmas show.
Sounds like
is
Sweet
gonna
Spot
join us.
too.
In the Sweet Spot, yeah.
Kathleen's coming.
Kathleen is coming back, so we will have our Caribbean goodies. So,
But again, we have to remember that for every food vendor like that, we have to balance that off with a farmer producer.
correct.
So it's a
It is a balancing act, and that's one of the reasons why you'll hear us repeating over and over again. We're looking for farmers. We're specifically looking for some product gaps that we have that we want to fill, but we're looking for all the farmers.
One more question about eggs.
oh yeah.
We cannot sell chicken eggs due to the egg marketing board,
So,
but we can sell duck and goose and
yeah, so
anybody else that lays eggs.
chicken eggs in Ontario, we could sell them at the market if you wanted to go through the grading process, which is unwieldy and expensive and a bit of a challenge for a smaller producer. However, that only applies to chicken eggs. All the other eggs are good.
And then you're a farmer producer.
And then you are a farmer producer.
Mm.
I've had a couple of little nibbles. We might have a duck egg coming along, so that would be
Oh, Dolores
Very
is
exciting.
Dolores' grandma, I think.
Dolores' grandma.
And she says she's offering normal and gluten-free, possibly.
Okay, very good.
I don't see any more questions. I don't think I missed any.
Okay, well, we are going to wrap it up then and give everybody who has come out a chance to make it home safely because it's a little messy out there.
I've been watching the over your shoulder through the doors back there, and there's been a couple of times when you can't see outside.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all for your support. We really appreciate your interest, and we hope to see you all at the market.
Yay.
Thank you.
Do I hit finish?
You hit finish.
Bye, everybody. See you in May.